Look at the person next to you. Now look in the mirror. Not a mean joke, just a necessary beginning, because there's a strange, quiet theft happening in modern life. People stealing confidence they don't actually own. They wear it like armor, speak as if they hold the maps, and lead with the certainty of profits. And sometimes they are harmless. Other times they reshape lives, institutions, even history itself. This isn't only about foolish people being loud. It's about a cognitive trap, one that convinces the least competent among us that they are the most skilled. It has a name, the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it's more human, more tragic and more fixable than most pop psychology threads will ever admit. If you stay with me for the next 20 minutes, I'll take you inside the minds of the confident incompetent. We'll walk through the experiments and the history that revealed this odd little paradox, and we'll look at the small, painful, but necessary choices you can make to not become part of the problem. This isn't a lecture, it's an invitation to see yourself clearly and to act with fragile, courageous honesty. Part 1: The Bank Robber Who Couldn't Be Seen. In 1995, a man named MacArthur Wheeler robbed 2 banks in Pittsburgh. No mask, no disguise. He even smiled right at the security cameras. Then he simply walked out with the cash. By nightfall, police had him in custody. When they asked how he thought he could avoid being identified, he said, dead serious, "I rubbed lemon juice on my face." Wheeler had read somewhere that lemon juice could be used as invisible ink, so he concluded, incorrectly and fatally, that it would also make his face invisible to cameras. He wasn't joking, he genuinely believed it. That bizarre, almost absurd moment sparked a deeper question for 2 social psychologists. What makes some people so utterly certain they are right when they are catastrophically wrong? David Dunning and Justin Kruger decided to find out. In a series of now classic studies, they discovered something unsettling. People in the lowest quartile of performance, across logic, grammar, humor, even emotional intelligence, dramatically overestimated their competence. The least skilled thought they were above average. The more wrong they were, the more confident they felt. And, in a twist, the top performers often underestimated themselves. The more they knew, the more they saw the vastness of what they didn't know. Ignorance wrapped in certainty, wisdom wrapped in doubt. This isn't just a curious glitch in human thinking. It's a cognitive blind spot with real-world consequences. Part 2: Why the Incompetent Feel Certain Fail. There are 3 core reasons for this paradox, and they are all painfully human. First, the competence visibility problem. To judge the quality of your own performance, you need a measure, standards, experience, feedback. But the very skills that make someone competent are also the skills that let them evaluate competence. If you lack the skill, you lack the internal instrument to notice your mistakes. It's like being tone deaf and unable to tell when a violin is out of tune. Even though everyone else hears it, you need the ability to assess, to know you need to improve. Second, metacognitive failure. Metacognition is thinking about thinking, the internal commentary that says, am I right or do I understand this? People who lack metacognitive skills aren't just bad at tasks, they can't step back and judge their own process. Without that inner mirror, false beliefs go unchallenged. Third, motivated cognition and social reinforcement. We live in social worlds where being confident is rewarded. Confidence signals leadership, reduces conflict, and can be socially sticky. Others often prefer to avoid confrontation or to be aligned with seemingly certain people. So when a person asserts something confidently, peers reinforce that illusion. Through nods, shares, likes, promotions, and the belief grows. In the age of social media, the reinforcement is immediate and amplified. Put together, these 3 forces create a perfect storm. A person lacks the skill to see the truth, lacks the internal check to doubt themselves, and receives social feedback that confirms the illusion. What emerges is certainty without competence. Part 3: The Science and the Surprises. Dunning and Kruger's original paper used simple tasks, logic questions, grammar exercises, and tests of humor. The result? The least competent overestimated themselves the most. Later research replicated and nuanced the effect. It appears across domains, cultures, and ages, though its size depends on how skill is measured and how feedback is given. Neuroscience adds texture. Studies of brain activity suggest that the regions involved in self-monitoring and error detection, like parts of the prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate, are less engaged when people are overconfident. In plain terms, their internal alarm system and error detection, like parts of the prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate, are less engaged when people are overconfident. In plain terms, their internal alarm system is quieter. They don't get the inner hum that prompts a recheck. Another important nuance: the Dunning-Kruger pattern is not simply arrogance. Often, the overconfident are genuinely unaware. It's epistemic humility that's missing, not social humility. And sometimes, those with competence can still be overconfident when task demands are unusual, or when their domain knowledge misleads them into broader claims they can't support. A surprising finding is that feedback matters. When people receive clear, immediate feedback on tasks, objective scoring, real consequences, many recalibrate, but in real life, feedback is messy. Bosses avoid firing competent people, social media rewards extremes, politics punishes nuance. So even when feedback is possible, social incentives often blunt it. Part 4. When confidence becomes a weapon, this tendency isn't merely individual. It scales up. Imagine a company. The loud, confident manager persuades the board. They assert bold strategy without rigorous data. The board, craving decisive action, implements the plan. The results are disastrous. The meek, competent analyst, who warned that the model was flawed, is sidelined. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect, meeting institutional incentives. Now scale to politics. A charismatic leader speaks with absolute certainty, simplified messages, clear enemies, decisive promises. The public, fatigued by complexity, is comforted. Campaigns reward spectacle and certainty. The most catastrophic governance failures of history are often led by people who were both overconfident and insulated from correction. They believed in their narratives, their systems protected them from reality. And consider medicine. Clinicians can fall prey to overconfidence, misdiagnosing conditions when they trust heuristics, over-test results. Aviation, engineering, finance all show examples where confidence and competence led to crises. In short, when confidence masquerades as competence and society rewards the facade, the cost can be high. Part 5. History's mirror. Folly dressed as certainty. History is a long haul of confident misjudgments. Napoleon's invasion of Russia rests like a cautionary tale, hubris wrapped in audacity, with disastrous results. The Titanic's promoters proclaimed it unsinkable. Leaders have launched wars on false assumptions. Economists have declared bubbles as new eras. Business icons have steered firms into ruin with charismatic certainty. One of the hardest human facts is that confidence is a persuasive signifier. It suggests clarity, direction, control, and in times of fear and uncertainty, we crave that badly. But history shows, again and again, that the person who feels most certain about a course is not necessarily the one who understands it best. Often the exact opposite. Part 6. The reverse side. Wisdom's quietness. There is an uplifting complement to the Dunning-Kruger effect. The competent are often quietly humble. The more someone knows, the more they perceive the vastness of what they don't know. Think of the wise elder who starts sentences with, "I could be wrong, but," or the scientist who headlines with uncertainty. That humility is not weakness. It's an epistemic strength. It signals a mind tuned to nuance, one that seeks evidence over applause. Socrates famously claimed he knew nothing. He was wise precisely because he understood the limits of his knowledge. True expertise often requires the ability to update, to accept being wrong, and to let facts reshape belief. That's the rare muscle many of us lack. Part 7. Why you should care, and I mean personally. This is not an abstract cognitive puzzle. It affects your job, your relationships, your health, and your politics. Think about hiring. Who wins promotions? Often the visible, assertive performer. Who gets the long-term wins? The quieter, methodical professional who corrected course early. Think about relationships. The partner who insists they are right about important decisions can erode trust. Think about self-growth. If you overestimate your skill, you fail to practice, to learn, to improve, and perhaps most chillingly, if a critical mass of people are confident about the wrong things, entire societies can be steered into disaster. Misinformation spreads because it feels certain. Conspiracies thrive because they offer neat explanations. Markets crash when overconfident investors ignore tail risks. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a psychological amplifier of social fragility. Part 8. Why smart people fall too. There's a myth that only the dumb are overconfident. It's false. Intelligence does not immunize you. Smart people can be overconfident in domains outside their expertise, or when their intelligence fuels persuasive rhetoric that convinces both themselves and others. Moreover, intelligence can mask metacognitive deficits. The clever arguer who can build a plausible-sounding case may believe their own narrative. Another dynamic, social success can produce institutional insulation. High-status individuals receive less corrective feedback. Peers affirm rather than challenge them. Over time, echo chambers build, and smart people surrounded by yes-men can become as blind. Part 9. Cultural, social, and technological amplifiers. Modern life is a feast for the overconfident. Social media algorithms reward certainty and emotional content. Clicks flow to headlines that promise answers. The platform's architecture amplifies certainty, punishes nuance, and rewards momentum. People who speak loudly find audiences easily. The reward is validation, not correction. Culture matters. Societies that prize presentation over process, where image trumps evidence, create selection environments that promote the confident showman. Media ecosystems, corporate hierarchies, political systems all conspire to amplify the Dunning-Kruger dynamic. Part 10. The quiet antidotes. Practical, humble, powerful. If the problem is human and social, the cure is partly personal and partly systemic. Let's begin with small daily strategies you can use. Build a habit of doubt, not paralyzing doubt, constructive questioning. When you form a strong opinion, ask, what would change my mind? Give yourself a checklist of disconfirming evidence before acting. Seek calibrated feedback. Create environments where honest, specific feedback is normal. Ask for metrics. Invite critique. Reward correction. Feedback that is timely and objective reduces illusion. Practice slow thinking. Daniel Kahneman called it System 2 thinking. Deliberate, effortful, reflective. When stakes are high, force yourself into slower reasoning. Write pros and cons. Consult experts. Test small. Cultivate metacognition. Reflect not just on facts, but on how you thought about them. Keep a learning journal. After decisions, review what went right and what went wrong. Diversify your social circle. Echo chambers breed illusion. Keep people around who will respectfully challenge you, not to humiliate, but to illuminate. Check your confidence signals. Are you persuading through charm or through data? Ask, what would falsify your belief? Value humility publicly. Normalize saying, I don't know, and I was wrong. Model it. It lowers the social cost of admitting error. Systems-level changes are heavier, but vital. Redesign incentive structures to prefer accuracy over speed. Cultivate media literacy in education. Build institutions that reward expertise and penalize showmanship when stakes demand it. Part 11. A dangerous human twist. There's a darker, moral wrinkle. Sometimes, people choose confidence for gain. They know they are weak, but perform certainty to win. The performance of confidence can be strategic and cynical. Con artists, demagogues, opportunists weaponize overconfidence for status, profit, and power. They exploit the human affinity for certitude. That means the Dunning-Kruger effect is not only a psychological misfire, it's also a tool. Societies must guard against both the innocent overconfident and the malicious performer. The solutions differ but are complementary. Education and humility for the first, accountability and fact-checking for the second. Part 12. Stories that stay with you. Let me tell you 3 short stories, not as proof, but as mirrors. The startup founder, a charismatic founder, persuaded investors with sweeping claims. The spreadsheets were thin, the narrative thick. The company burned through capital, chasing a market that didn't exist. Investors blamed market timing. The real culprit was overconfident belief in an untested idea. The lesson: charm does not equal product-market fit, but it can attract money until it collapses. The ignored scientist, a cautious epidemiologist, urged early lockdowns during a novel outbreak. Her tone was cautious, her confidence modest. Policymakers waited for louder voices, promising quick fixes. Weeks later, when models converged, her quiet warnings were vindicated. The lesson: humility earns trust slowly, and sometimes that delay is deadly. The reluctant leader, a brilliant manager, refused promotion because he feared he lacked political finesse. The role went to a more outgoing, less skilled colleague. The organization suffered. The lesson: not all reticence is virtue. Sometimes competent people must train themselves in visibility to prevent worse actors from rising. These stories aren't abstractions. They are the human textures of the effect, confidence, competence, and consequences entwined. Part 13. The moral work of self-knowledge and At heart, the fight against this trap is moral, not just cognitive. It asks you to be vulnerable, to admit ignorance, to listen, to let evidence displace identity. That's frightening, because our self-concept is entangled with what we believe. Saying I was wrong can feel like saying I am less than I thought. But there is dignity in revision. There is courage in correction. People who cultivate this habit become quiet stabilizers in their communities, the ones who catch errors before they cascade. They are not always celebrated in the short term, but they preserve trust in the long run. Part 14. A practical moment: what to do tomorrow. If you want one concrete practice to start right now, do this tomorrow morning. Pick one firm belief you hold about health, politics, work, or people and spend 30 minutes looking for the best argument against it. Don't skim, seek credible sources, talk to someone who disagrees, and write down how the opposing view changes your confidence. This small ritual trains your metacognitive muscles. Another practice: before you assert something publicly, ask what's the margin of error, add it to your language. Replace "this will work" with X% confidence. Precision breeds humility. Closing. The question. That matters. Here's the last thing I want to leave you with. The Dunning-Kruger effect is not a label to fling at others. It's a mirror to put against your face. We are all at moments overconfident and underinformed. We all wear illusions that comfort us. The only difference is whether we let those illusions harden into identity. So when certainty parades, ask who benefits. When I never doubt, when a voice shouts the loudest, ask who loses. When we stop asking questions. If you can answer those questions honestly and act on what they reveal, you will be doing something rare. You will be practicing wisdom in a noisy age. You will be a less dangerous person. You will be, in the small but crucial ways, part of the cure. Because the most powerful thing you can do against confident incompetence is simple. Refuse to play along. Slow down. Ask for evidence. Admit doubt. Teach others to do the same. It's not glamorous. It's not viral. But it's the work that keeps societies from tipping, from letting the uninformed march with the confident off the cliff. And if you ever catch yourself speaking with too much certainty, remember MacArthur Wheeler. Lemon juice doesn't blind a camera, and certainty without competence doesn't save anyone.